And of course, well, I have to show you far and away this game's best bit. You rescue a Doge in this, and then you can pet the Doge, and I mean, look at this. 10 out of 10 Doge. Very highly approve of that. Good job, guys. What's up, folks, and welcome to Indie Ramble. So, yeah, I've got another firefighting game, actually. Those of you who watched my Nuclear Blaze video last year will remember that I kind of have a thing for firefighting games. There aren't that many of them, and I just find it's a genre, if you will, that sort of lends itself to some interesting gameplay mechanics and ideas when I've seen it. And, well, this is a firefighting roguelite. And you guys know I play a lot of those as well. And this is unfortunately one of those games where it didn't really do it for me, but I can see why a lot of people would like this, so I wanted to show it off to you anyway. So yeah, this is Firegirl Hack and Splash Rescue. And the idea behind this is that you're someone who gets hired into a fire department that's struggling, and you do a bunch of different missions to help build the fire department's reputation up and also generate income for it. It kind of runs like a business. Yeah, I know. And there is a story to this as well that you slowly uncover by getting different collectibles within missions in the game world. The story's kind of interesting. It has some, political corruption intrigue and some other bits to it that's kind of cool. But yeah, I haven't seen the whole thing yet. And of course, well, I have to show you far and away this game's best bit. You rescue a Doge in this, and then you can pet the Doge, and I mean, look at this. 10 out of 10 Doge. Very highly approve of that. Good job, guys. So yeah, the idea here is that you will go on different missions, and in doing so, you'll earn money, which you can then use to upgrade your fire department. You can buy better equipment. You can do things that get you to jobs faster. You can hire somebody to get you more fans. Yes, fans. We'll get into that. And you do missions, you upgrade, you do more missions, and over the course of the game, you'll collect these things called fire tomes, which in turn unlock more elements of the story. So you'll go into a few different environments. This is one of them. This is the forest, which I have to say, I do like the look of this game. It's 2.5D, sort of pixely, sort of not, but it's got like the lighting effects in this area are really amazing. I really, really like that. Also, I love this little nod to Hideo Kojima here with the weird fire, like sky whale things. Anyone who is a Metal Gear fan will know what that's about. So, I told you that this is a firefighting game, right? And while you do fight fires in this, you might find it a little strange to know that that is not the point of this. What you have to do is rescue people. You can also rescue animals like this, though those are bonuses. And your goal is to rescue people, not to put out the fires. Putting out the fires is just a means to an end to get to the people. And the stranger thing about this is that if you can't rescue everybody, there's no penalty for that. You can finish missions in this having rescued nobody or rescuing everybody, and all it determines is how much money you get at the end. You can also die in one of these levels, and it just ends your particular go at that level. Roguelites are typically played in runs, right? Where if you fail a mission, you die, you have to start the game over, but in a roguelite, you get to keep the permanent behind-the-scenes progression that you level up as you progress, and that makes your future runs easier. Well, in this game, you don't play in runs, you play in missions. So if you die, or you don't rescue everybody, you just don't make as much money. If you die, technically you have a hospital bill, but it's minute. And that's kind of the main thing with this, is that it is a roguelite, but extremely bare bones. So you may see here what was going on. So I'm in this forest here, and you have to rescue survivors. You have a certain number that you have to get in order to rescue the whole, in order to complete the mission with the most money possible. And then you go back and you pick another mission and you do it again. There's only, at least at the point I'm at in the game, a few hours in, there's only 4 environments. There's an apartment building, There's an office building that's modeled after Nakatomi Plaza from Die Hard. And there's this forest. And that's basically it. The levels are procedurally generated, but very barely so. The levels don't really change all that much from run to run, and it does feel like the levels are pretty much just picking a different random set of pre-done templates. So the levels do change, but not in a very significant way, in my opinion. And you may have seen as well that when you go through a section of a level, you know, the other thing about roguelites is they typically involve a lot of exploration. And you can't really do that in this, because when you get past a certain point in a level, the fire automatically comes rushing in behind you, and you can't progress backwards once that's happened. Again, your goal in this is not to put out the fire, it's just to rescue people. And so yeah, there's higher end enemies here that you will encounter later on that make things quite tricky. So you'll see as well that I have a water meter in the upper left there. You actually never run out of water. It's just if you do run it down into the red zone, you'll be able to have a lot less powerful a water stream. And as you can see, that's also how you get around the levels, because your water is also a jetpack. Which I think is actually a pretty cool concept. There are different ways you can refill your water in the levels, as you see, because I'm standing in this little sort of lake thing, I can do that. So I'm kind of walking around here because there was still another person to rescue. And that's the thing, sometimes the people are placed very obviously, sometimes they're not, and sometimes it can be very hard to find them if you can at all. Especially I find in the apartment complex, it can be really frustrating because though the fire chief guy knows how many people there are to rescue and knows when you're getting close, he also doesn't know exactly where they are, and there's no map. So if you miss them, you miss them, and you can do that very easily sometimes just because it's not clear where you have to go. And that's the biggest problem I have with this, is it's just... I don't like to use the term casual, but that's really how this feels. It feels like it's a roguelite, but just barely, because there's no... The thing about that genre is that it's all about the stakes, right? It's all about risk versus reward. It's all about... So I'm going to get to the end here, and I missed somebody, but I want to show you guys some other environments. So you can choose whether or not you want to leave, and then it'll give you a little summary of the money that you've earned. You get fans by rescuing people, and by doing upgrades in the base, you can have fans who will give more money to you. Now, the one thing is you won't get your fan donations if you don't rescue everybody. If there's any casualties, you won't get any donations. But you can see there, I still racked in a pretty good chunk of money, even though, you know, somebody died, technically. And that's the other thing. There isn't even any challenge in the rescuing, because you can get the... You don't have to get the person... So I'm gonna just spend some money here on upgrading the hospital. So, because that's the thing, there's no real stakes in this. So if people die, there's not really any penalty for it. If you die, there isn't really any penalty for it. And you can upgrade your fire hall very quickly. In fact, I've already done most of the upgrades that are available. It doesn't take that long. And as you can see here, again, see, because I came through the door, now it's blocked off. So... yeah, it doesn't feel like there's any real stakes here. There's no risk versus reward. You can just kind of brute force your way through this, you know, the equivalent of like button mashing your way through a fighting game. You can just brute force and not really take your time, not really be careful, not really plan your traversal through the levels or anything like that, and you'll still ultimately succeed in the end. And I don't know, from a firefighting game, especially one that's aiming to be a roguelike, I just wanted more than that. This just doesn't feel like it understands fully the genre that it's trying to be a part of. And I like the production values of this a lot. I think the game looks pretty good. I think I think it sounds good. I think it looks great, actually. I really love the look of this. But yeah, it just doesn't feel, again, it doesn't really feel like it's maximizing its potential or maximizing the genre that it's trying to be a part of. And, you know, again, there is a story to it. The story is kind of interesting, the little bits of it that I've seen, but it's nothing that you'll remember significantly later on. And it's very repetitive. It's a lot of the same core mission stuff over and over and over again. It's the same basic ideas. The upgrades can be valuable, but a lot of them are just things that will just make the levels easier and also make it so that you can get even more money even when you fail more often. And it becomes to a certain degree almost like an idle game, in the sense that it kind of doesn't matter what you do, as long as you do something, you're going to succeed. So you see, we still have another person that we're missing here. Usually it's not that hard to get most people. So let's go back through here and see if we could find them. But you can see a lot of the rooms look very similar in this, and I mean, this city seems to have a lot of problems with fires in 4 specific places, and I find it funny that this is called, you know, Nakatomi Plaza. It's modeled after, again, Nakatomi Plaza from Die Hard, and I just find it hilarious that apparently this building catches on fire like every second day. So, and I forgot to tell you as well, I think about the last environment. I said there was 4, and it occurs to me I only mentioned 3. So there's a train in this as well, a moving train, and that's actually the most challenging level, because the train is not only on fire, the cars are kind of separating and things like that, so it's very much a platforming challenge as well. But there's not much challenge in terms of finding people. Finding the people that you have to rescue is trivially easy because it's a train. There aren't multiple floors or anything like that. So you will basically be able to rescue everyone easily as long as you can complete the platforming challenge of getting to the end of the train. And, you know, that's the thing. Another way they could have made this more challenging was to make it so that if you rescued someone, you had to do what you actually did as a firefighter, which is, you know, take them to the exit. But you don't have to do that. As long as you go in to the level and touch them, you rescue them. You know what I mean? And I get it's a video game and they're trying to make that conceit, but again, it really takes the challenge out of it. There we go. So I rescued this guy. It really takes a lot of the challenge out of it and makes it a very, very simple in concept. You know what I mean? And so you're going to see here that we're going to earn a lot more money because we got full mission success. So see, 25 grand, and it hasn't taken me many hours of play to get these things crazy upgraded like this, right? And yeah, that's my biggest problem, is it just feels like this is oversimplified to the point where it really doesn't really lend itself well to the roguelite genre. And there's just not enough level variety. See, now we're going to Nakatomi Plaza again, you know, the place we just left. Yeah, apparently it's on fire again. So I would never stay in this hotel. But yeah, you're doing the same things over and over again. Eventually you'll get a little bit of story, which I you know, seems interesting, but not that compelling. And yeah, you do this, you spend some money, and you go back and you do it all again. And it just is really not grabbed me that much. And I've been continuing to put time into it because I really like firefighting games, and you know, Nuclear Blaze, which I played last year, I adored. It was one of my favorite games of last year, and it's a game I'm actually starting to learn to speedrun. And I looked at this and I went, oh man, this could be so awesome. And it just, in many ways, feels like, you know what it feels like? It feels like a game that should have just entered early access. You know how there's a lot of early access games that come out where they've got their core concept down, they've got the core gameplay mechanics and whatnot down, but they're like, this isn't content complete yet. So we're putting it into early access so that we can get some money in so that we can make all the levels and all the story stuff that we want to do, and basically take what is already a functional game and make it content complete. That's what this feels like. Because other weird things, this game is on PC. Even though the capability is free in Steam, this game doesn't have cloud saves or achievements or anything else like that you would see. I mean, even a lot of crappy asset flips have achievements and cloud saves in them. This doesn't have any of that either. And because of all that, and the lacking amount of content, oh, so I died there, so you're gonna see what happens here. But because of the lacking amount of content and everything else, it feels like a game that should have just entered early access, But this is from a decently known developer, and it's from Thunderful, which is a pretty decent sized indie publisher now that's actually put out a lot of really great stuff in the last while. And you see, because I upgraded the infirmary, the cost of healing myself is even less. It's literally trivial. Doesn't matter at all. And yeah, this really feels like a game that's not finished and that is just not content complete. And yet it's being sold as such. And, you know, with pretty decent sized indie publisher backing to boot. And that's just a disappointment because it really feels like there should have been more to this. So here's the burning residential building. Similar idea, to be honest with you. And it does some cool stuff with the camera and stuff like this too. Like I said, you know, in terms of looks, I think this game has that down really, really well. But yeah, it's just really, really lacking in the content and gameplay department. And it feels like it needs more time to get where it needs to get, but it's already out. I don't know what the story is behind that. Maybe there isn't one, but yeah. For that reason, I found this a little bit disappointing, and I don't think I'm going to be playing any more of it after this video. But the reason I made this video is because, you know, I don't like to cover games that are just outright bad and crappy. There are other channels for that. I just don't waste my time with that anymore. But when a game doesn't click with me, but I look at it and go, yeah, you know what? I could still see why other people might be into this. I still like to cover it because I like to show stuff like this off. And if this game does well enough, maybe they can make a sequel that really fleshes this idea out to the degree I think it should have been. And the reviews for this so far are fairly mixed, so there are people who do like it, and you might be one of those. You know, if you're someone who, and I know people like this, who like the idea of roguelites but are intimidated by them, either because they're very hard or because they require a lot of repetition or other things like that that maybe turn people off of them, this is a good way to play something in that genre that is definitely less punishing. It is easier, it's definitely easier to get into, and it could be a bit of a stepping stone to people who want to spend some more time with this genre and have a bit of a, you know, an easier footing into it. I could certainly see the argument being made for that. And, you know, if nothing else, it's another firefighting game, and we don't get nearly as many of those as I'd like to see. And it's nice to see someone attempting new ideas with that sort of subgenre of fiction, if you will, even if it doesn't always click with me. So that's why I wanted to show this to you, because you may dig it. I unfortunately kind of didn't, and that kind of bums me out because I really wanted to like this more than I did, but you know, such is how it goes sometimes. So yeah, that is Firegirl Hack and Splash Rescue. It is out now. It is, yeah, like I said, not necessarily my cup of tea, but it may very well be yours. And if you really, really like firefighting stuff, you know, the core thing of shooting fire with water while you pick people, you know, while you rescue people out, yeah, it still does that, and it does it pretty well. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. I do appreciate it. If you liked what you saw here, please do all the normal YouTube things. Like, subscribe, make sure you hit the notification bell. That's become a lot more important on YouTube. And leave a comment down below. You know, have you tried this out? What do you think of it? Does it look more appealing to you than I've made it on, that I've put on here? Are there other recent firefighting games that I've missed? Because I would love to know about those, because like I said, this is a genre I like a lot. And you can also follow me over at twitch.tv/pxabstraction. I do multiple streams a week of the indies and retro stuff, a lot of things that you won't see over here on YouTube. We have a great community over there, and I would love to see you. So thanks again for watching, everyone, and I will see you on the next Indie Ramble. You folks have yourselves a good one. Take it easy, folks.